All right, let's go. Hey everyone, hello. Uh, Sorry I'm a couple minutes late. I actually have a pretty technical thing that I'm changing this time. So let me say hi to folks and then we'll get going with our Cowboy Chords and our Sunday show. Uh, First thing, if somebody could tell me whether they can hear me and whether they can hear the guitar. Hopefully everything's okay and you can hear both. All right. So I'll kind of wait for those in just a second. We'll turn that down. And just want to get some of the preliminaries out. Let me say hi to everybody. Hey, Matt. Hi to you as usual. Okay. Haven't heard from anybody that you can hear me yet, and that's a bit concerning, but this is what it is. Loud and clear. Awesome. Thank you, 2001 Joe. Really appreciate it. Sound and sync is good. All right. And I have a slight surprise to show everybody. I'm kind of happy about it. And it's going to necessitate my changing around my office and all that. But anyway, let me say hi to everybody. Mark Davich found us all on Baker Street. Yeah, some nice sustain on that first bent note. Yeah, well, maybe I'll have to relearn those secrets. Probably has to do with compression because it's clean, it's fairly clean. Hi, Ron Shack. How you doing? Yes. All right, and I see Ron is on the ball in terms of chords. Robbie Love, hello. Aziz, hey, good to see you on today. Osman 5151, hello to you. Street Bright, good morning to you. 2001 Joe, hello. Chris Steighorst, hello. I don't know how it's pronounced. Is it Steig or Stieg? It's pronounced Stieg, or it's pronounced. It looks like it's pronounced Stieg. But anyway, you can let me know. I'll just say Chris. Nemo Unknown, hello. Hello to you. Hope you're doing well in New Mexico. All right. And Highly Strung, hello to you. SP, hello. Yeah, so for a number of you who joined me on the members only live stream yesterday, I think there were lots of questions about, can we do some beginner stuff as well, and or do we always do the advanced stuff? We're going to do a mix, and I'm thinking we might even have multiple streams of live streams if you think, but we'll see how that goes. That will be posted, so you'll be able to see it even if you didn't get to see it the first time around. All right. So I want to say thank you to all of, first of all, thank you to all my members, those of you who signed up on the site. I'm not going to be advertising today, so I'm done with that because it's closed for enrollment for the moment. But really do appreciate your support on that. Anybody who donated, I want to give a special shout out to John. I have no idea whether he's on or he's going to see this, but thank you for your very generous donation. Very, very helpful. Really, really appreciate that. And and Joe Birkins is on as well. Gentleman meme. Okay, love it. Hi, David Smith. Okay, and I'm Anonymous is on. Oh yeah, thank you for reminding me. So I guess I'll remind all of you before we get started that if you can, hit the like button because it costs you nothing, but it means actually a lot to me and makes a difference in terms of the videos and my circulation. All right, so let me get to the surprise that I got going here today. So I'm just testing this out today. If it works, we'll see. But there it is. There's the surprise. And I can use maybe, hopefully I'll be able to use that second camera. I think it's actually a little bit better camera. And hopefully I'll be able to use this second camera to not only do this view, but do some other close-ups or something like that. So it's not always so much, Mark is, Mark's playing, but he's not showing his fingers. So I get that a lot because I forget a lot. All right. So there we go. Office Rocker, hello. Hello to you. All right, so we're going to talk cowboy chords. Actually, I think I'm going to, if you guys are okay with this, I'm going to leave this one on today. And you can see some of my other guitars in the background. We'll just kind of pick this up. and we'll see how it goes. I'll probably be craning my neck. I got to learn how to stare at this camera. My monitors are all on the side, so I got to see if I'm in alignment and all that kind of stuff. So I'll be looking at a side camera too often, but hopefully this is okay. Let me get some clean sounds. We get some clean sounds. Director's cut. All right. So first of all, I guess let me look and see. Loving the membership course. Thank you, Aziz. Glad you enjoy it. And you know, it's only going to keep growing. So every month, new material. Okay. All right. Hey, El Rondo. How are you? Okay, so we're talking cowboy chords today, and it looks like I am going to have to move this over a little bit, or move myself over a little bit. Whoops, wrong way. There we go. Move myself over a little bit. So what are cowboy chords? Well, I think as Ron said, cowboy chords, the so-called cowboy chords, and people know them as different things. Sometimes they're called open chords. Some people call them church chords. Some people call them just chords. And, you know, they're often the chords that people learn when they start out. And in some ways, they're good. And in some ways, they're not so good, because in some ways, they're hard to finger. You know, so, you know, the typical cowboy chords are, you know, G, C, D, A, and E, all for the majors, right? And sometimes people will talk about the F chord, or you know, whatever one works for you. That's the F chord that you learned when you were a kid. And as a good friend of mine says, they called it the F chord for a reason. Anyway, and you know, if you're learning on the acoustic, that's often a very difficult chord. A lot of people can't play that chord. And then sometimes even the B chord is considered a cowboy chord. And people call that the H chord. Some people call that the H chord, and I think Russians call that the H chord. Anyway, really the F chord, I got into a discussion with somebody the other day about the F chord, and they said, well, shouldn't Caged also have the F chord? And I was like, no, because the F chord is really the same shape as the E chord, and in fact it is, right? So, you know, if you're playing, let me see if I can get this sound better. Right, that should be good. If you're playing an E, an F chord is really just an E chord. Everything moved a fret up, right? So there's not really another form, and that's the whole point of Caged, is to do that. But anyway, let's get back to this. So those are the majors. And then for the minors, there's E minor that we learn. There is A minor. And there's D minor. And all those forms are important to learn. Some people also say there's B minor. Anyway, some people will say there's B minor also, but again, that's really just A minor 2 frets up. So why is it important to learn cowboy chords? Well, a couple of different reasons. Number one, they're hard to play in the beginning because they force you to really, you know, arch your fingers and all that. And I see Mark Davidge, thank you so much. Appreciate the super chat. As always, that's always appreciated. So thank you very much. So they force you to arch your fingers and try to play really painstakingly slowly so that your fingers can figure out how to make good sounds on the guitar. So arch your fingers, hit the frets, you know, close enough to the frets, or put your fingers on the fretboard close enough to the frets so you make clear sounds. So that's one reason. But there's another reason, and the reason is that those forms, together with a couple of other things, actually free you to be able to go up the fretboard. Now, I want to share with you what those other couple things are. But just before we do, if you haven't yet learned these cowboy chords, it's high time that you do, because there's so much that you can do, with them as an electric player, or especially as an acoustic player. And one of the key messages of these cowboy chords is that everything is right here in the space of about 4 frets, right? So in theory, if you had a magic capo, right, or capo, if for my friends across the pond, which everybody was telling me, by the way, it's Mark Zed guitar. It's like, yeah, I know. If you're in Canada or Britain or some other places, people say Zed for Z. It's still pronounced Z. But anyway, I get your point is well taken. If I want to play chords like I want to play everything in A, in theory, I could play it just in E, but capo it here, right? Right? Or if I wanted to play in G, this lends itself to certain keys like G. That kind of stuff. So it lends itself to G and other keys. If I want to play that sort of thing and I want to play a C, in theory, I could just capo here, right? And play C. Take off the compressor. So in theory, I could do that. So just kind of understanding that everything is under a 4-fret span is under your fingertips is good. But how do you get from here elsewhere? That's the next step, right? Now that you learn the cowboy chords, you learn how they fit together, you make them nice and clear. There's a lot to learn in that, a lot of good mechanics that you learn. Well, I'll tell you a couple of things. So there's 2 concepts that you got to learn, or 2 things that you got to learn, I think, to really help you unlock lots of things on the fretboard. The first thing, and I know I harp on this like every single week, but the first thing that you must commit that you're going to do is you're going to commit that you're going to know all the notes on the fretboard. Now, it's going to take a while. Don't believe the videos where it says learn it in 5 minutes, memorize it in 5 minutes. Won't happen. Okay? If you're just starting to learn the fretboard, give yourself time, but practice it every day. And it's really simple. I mean, there's other shortcuts that you can learn with octaves and such. But pick a note on the fretboard. Start with the bottom 2 strings and work your way up to the top 2 strings. And just pick random notes on the fretboard and figure them out. Take the time. Take 5 minutes a day. Place your finger here, and if you don't immediately know it's a C sharp or D flat, figure it out. The open is an E, and you probably know this is a G, and this is an A, and this is a B, and this is a C, and this is a C sharp. Okay, got it. It took me a while. The next time it's going to be faster. And so if you just spend 5 minutes a day or a couple minutes a day, every practice session, you'll get it. And then when you're playing songs, think about where those various notes are, and it'll be automatic after a while. You'll get it. So that's a prerequisite for sure. I know I keep harping on that. But it's amazing how many people just resist that. They're like, no, man, I'm not going to do it, or they just don't do it. It's a habit you get into every day, and if you do it every day, after a month, you won't ever have to worry about it again. All right, so there's that. And then the second thing is called partial chords. That's going to take a little bit longer to talk, so I'm going to take a look and see if there's any questions and kind of go back to here. So, so let's have a look and see what questions we've got. Or comments. AC/DC uses them. Yes, absolutely. So they're all over rock. If you ever want to play in Nashville at any bar, you're going to have to know them. And I'm not saying that just because cowboy and country music. I'm just saying, like, every song is. Oh my God, every song was like that. Every bar I went to last time I was there. Okay, so anyway, yes, there's, let's see, when did they start being called cowboy chords? Open chords is another phrase that people say that. So people have said cowboy chords, I think, because that's what cowboys used to use when they strummed on their guitar. You know, guitar being one of the first portable instruments, so it was available to them. And of course, on those old guitars, you can't get much higher than the first position. So, cowboy chords, I think that was part of it. All right, is B7 a cowboy chord? Yes, but it misses the point. So it's true that B7 is a cowboy chord, but and it's good to learn. Good to learn. There's other ones that you can maybe learn as well. C7, D7, G7, E7, A7. There's lots of seventh chords that you can learn. Basic ones we just talked about. B7 maybe used a lot. Okay, so if we talk about seventh chords, yeah, we're going to just keep the majors and minors. All right. That's right. And SP in bluegrass, people use it in combination with a capo a lot, and that's because they want that ringing sort of sound, right? Okay. Now, here's the kicker. And somebody said Neil Young is a master of playing cowboy chords, that's for sure, and adding embellishments. Yes. So cowboy chords are also great for like adding little embellishments, right? That's about all I know about that song, Powderfinger, right? But he would add those little things in. Great player in terms of that. Always found little things that he could do. All right, so here's the other thing that I think that people miss out on, and that is that when people start saying, hey, those forms, the form of those. Now, what if I didn't have my magic capo, right? What if I didn't have the magic capo? I'm going to go back to the other camera again because I like it better. I think it looks better. So what if I didn't have this magic capo? What would I do? Well, I'd have to, instead of playing this E like this, move over again. Instead of playing this E like this, I'd take off the capo and play it like this, right? So far, so good. So far, so good. But, you know, some of these things are really difficult to finger, right? So the E is maybe not so hard. It's just like the F bar chord. We're moving it up. But some of the others are, like C. How do we move up with that? Well, it can be done. There's my E. And if I want to play an F in a C shape, right? This is a C-shaped chord, but I'm moving it up and playing it in F. That's a difficult one to finger, especially for beginners. So that's a difficult one. And if you think that one's difficult, the D chord. The D chord, you tie your fingers in knots because it's not usually a... There's my F. There's a G. So you tie your fingers up in knots to be able to play some of these things. So a lot of players give up, even if they get the idea that they're playing a D shape, but they're moving that D shape up the neck, even if they get that. And that in and of itself is an abstraction, and a lot of people don't get. Understandable. If you can take each of these forms, though, and move it up, if you can finger these, you get it, right? You can play, if you want to play an F, all you have to do is know that, or a G, know that this note right here is a G, know that this is the root that names that chord. So this shape is going to work right up here with that root, right? And then finger it. Likewise, if you know that this is a G, and you know that this is a C shape, I can play the C-shaped G up here. And I could play the A-shaped G up here. Oh, okay, so all of this is kind of normal. There's nothing weird about it. But, again, the impediment to a lot of people playing this is that it's difficult to finger. Here's why it never struck me as difficult to finger, and it's because I always play partial chords. Now, instead of defining it, I'm just going to tell you one of the reasons why a lot of people don't see them. This right here, if I just play strings 4, 3, and 2, is also a C major chord. Now, You might say, so what? I already know that. If I can play this, of course I can play that. Yeah, but do you think this way? Do you see the fretboard this way? Like this is a C major, and this shape then is a D major. This shape is a G major. This shape is a G major. And this is a G major, and this is a G major, and this is a G major. The reason I could see that is because I've practiced those partial chords and I know them. And the reason I practice them is because I probably learned guitar differently than you did. I didn't learn from rock. So I didn't start out going. I didn't do that. What I did was I learned that's what I learned. Okay? I'm not going to put you all through that. But the point of this is that when I finally started playing chords, I learned the C chord like this. That's right, the 3 notes on the top 3 strings. And then I learned that this was a C chord too. And this was a G chord. So I learned the strings from the top string all the way down in the first position and played all those, Tisket a Tasket and Itsy Bitsy Spider and all that for my grandma and my mom. And so I think that way. That's one of the reasons. And it just dawned on me as I was putting this together that that's probably why I get that so quickly. But those need to be practiced. So just keep that in mind. Just because you can intellectualize this stuff doesn't mean you can play it. So spend some time playing only parts of chords, and I think you'll be rewarded. I'm going to take a few questions. So that's it for the Cowboy Chords. I mean, I think it's really a gateway. If you want it to be, it's really a gateway to understanding the fretboard really easily without having to rely upon scale patterns and, I got to connect these minor pentatonic and learn the 5 pentatonic shape or all the modes. If you know how to find chords and you know how to find pieces of chords quickly, then you'll never be lost on the fretboard. You'll always be able to find the chord that's being played. And in fact, it's a lot more fun. You can challenge yourself to play in any position, play the whole song right here, or then play it all over the place. And it's just a lot of fun. It makes guitar a lot more fun, at least to me. All right, let me take some questions and then we will go. Just use your pointer. Need gear help. Was going to buy a Gibson J45, but yesterday I tried a Yamaha ARE and loved it. I don't know anything about that. Sorry, guitar lust euphoria. Yeah, man, readjusting your touch from acoustic to electric can be tough. Yes, for sure. Thanks, El Rondo. Bob Weir uses a ton of these partial chords. Yes, he does. He does. I agree. Mel Bay, Bluebells of Scotland. There you go. That's exactly what I'm talking about, Mike Morello. The Mel Bay. Now, I didn't use Mel Bay. I used the Joe Fava method, who was a guitar teacher in Detroit, and everybody liked to use his. Are there impartial chords? That's great. All right. So anyway, if there are no questions, I'm going to improv a little bit whilst you can think of some questions, and then we'll come back and we'll answer some questions. I wish I could answer Guitar Lust Euphoria's question about J45 and Yamaha LL36, but I don't know. I don't know anything beyond Martin. I guess I should say if the Yamaha sounds like a Martin, go for it, at least from my perspective. I love Martins. Martins are my favorites. Yes, and with distortion, you're absolutely right, David Smith. With distortion, when you have a lot of distortion on, or a lot or a little, and you're using these big chords, that can easily overpower a lot. So you want to be a little bit careful about that, for sure. You want to be a little bit careful about it. And partial chords can help it because they add a lot less clutter, right? Other things about partial chords, you can avoid like thirds in chords, and they make them sound clearer too. But there's other tricks. Love to change the world. Yeah, a lot of open chords. What's the Animals? House of the Rising Sun, open chords and look, there's no shame in playing open chords. They're you know, there's all that kind of stuff, right? Those are all open chords, right? Tom Petty uses open chords all the time. So it's good to bring up your arsenal on it as well. All right. So let me do a little improv and let's go. Let's see. Let's see. Let's try this one maybe. Turn it up a little bit. One more time. Sorry, forgot it. Enough. Okay. Enough. Enough. You know what I got to figure out? I got to figure out how to not look at this because I'm looking at the comments right here and the camera's over there. So I think I'm going to have to work that one out, and we will try to use this one for today. I know it's a little bit brighter too, but we'll try to use this one because that way I can look at the comments and all that. I'll figure it out. Thank you, Mike. A few really wrong notes there, but it was kind of fun. All right. Let's see. Questions. A lot of stuff about Lost Euphoria's question. That's great. Or Lust Euphoria. That's great. Let's see. Got to run. Hey, thanks, Jimbo, for coming on. Really appreciate it. Really need one of those baseball bats. Okay. All right. Stainless steel frets. Rock's neck is about to burst into flames. He's playing spot today. Oh, goodness gracious. Do a tutorial for the outro solo to Kid Charlemagne. It's one of the best outro solos in my opinion. It is. Bam 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 Oh, great. See, I almost all know it anyway. I should do it. You're right. I should do it. I should do it. I need to redo the Kid Charlemagne video I did because it's really old. There's some bad bends in it. And man, I did a long time ago, so I can modernize that one. I will put that one on the list, Mr. Tony Scornavaco, or Scornavaco. All right. Thank you, Mike. But the outro, yes. I actually think the outro is not quite as good as the regular one. It's a little more flashy, I think. But I don't know, whatever. They're both great. It's like arguing, it's silly to argue. Now, with Back in Black, I think the regular solo is much better than the outro solo. And a lot of people love that outro solo. I think largely because it's got that really super fast lick. But whatever. I just think Back in Black's one of the best solos out there, period. I need a split camera stream. Yeah, well, I have one. I can do it, but I'm just playing around with it. I wanted to make sure the camera was working, and then I got to rechange my monitors and stuff. So that's good. I mean, what I could do is I could use the front-facing camera, or I'm sorry, the back-facing camera on my phone, but that's not as good. So, all right. Let's see. Yes, so Highly Strung says it's easy to strum at the neck, but you've got to start learning how to block out other strings. That's good, by the way, to learn when you're... Let me go clean again. I gotta get clean. Gotta clean this up again. Even if you're playing up here, and it's got some echo on there. There we go. That's better. Little trebly. Even if you're playing the whole chords, it's good to learn how to block off strings. A lot of times you don't want those thirds to be ringing out all the time. That's why a chord like this, or some people play it like this, that's a minor, but some people will play it differently. Learning to block out notes is really helpful. Not playing everything. So, and with your left hand muting and right hand muting. But when you're playing partial chords, you're right. It's not just muting, by the way, Highly Strung. It's also pick control with your right hand. But again, that's learning things over time. Great comment, though, for sure. Sometimes people refer to Gibsons as baseball bats. Yeah, that's what I thought you were talking about. Do I have lessons on double stops on the site? Triads, thirds, dyad. Not yet, but that one is coming. Actually, I do. There's not a lot on it, Mike, but if you go into the R&B course, it's in the R&B course. So you'll see some of those. I should probably bring those over to maybe Technique or something like that. But hey, DA, thank you. Thanks. I appreciate it, DA. Appreciate you being on the stream as well. Okay, so gang, I didn't have anything else besides the Cowboy Chords today for y'all. I mean, wasn't enough. I brought the special camera too. Look at that. I don't know. What do you guys think in terms of the camera? Is it better? If it looks to me, it looks better, and this shot looks a little bit better. And if I have a second camera that's maybe a more close up on the guitar neck, that might help. I could move this back a little bit and get that in. What do you think? This one or this one? This one seems like kind of washed out, and no matter what I do, I can't get it to be right. So, I mean, I'm biasing my view here, but here I have to look over here. I have to remind myself I need to look here because my tendency is to see what are they doing? What am I doing? What are they doing? So, new camera's better. Good. I'm glad you think so. I'm glad to think so. Now I can also play with like where it's mounted too, mounted up higher, and I could even use two of them, possibly use two of them. It's a new one, and it's basically using one of my old phones as a camera. New one's good, excellent, good. Glad you like it. Yeah. So we'll figure out how to use it and be more effective on it. And then next is to put all the condenser mics and mixer in this room and clean up the dang thing room, and then they'll be nice. I'm still gonna leave my picture of my dad up. I'm gonna leave that one up, but some of the other stuff I'll probably get rid of. So, clear second. All right, new cam's clear. All right, great, awesome. So all right, so we'll do that. Thanks, Frank 5151 for joining. Have a great day. We've only been on for 40 minutes, so I think maybe what I can do, I can talk a little bit. If you like that improv, I messed up a little bit because I haven't really internalized it so much, so I don't really feel the chord changes as much as I was expecting them. I missed it a couple times going to that E, and I missed a couple times going to the G. But this is, it's a pretty typical sort of chord formation, and a cool one too, right? It's a fun one. So let's give it a listen. Why don't we break it down a little bit? Give it a listen. We'll talk about maybe what are some of the approaches that you can take in this and what's going to work. Keep your amp under the window. Well, let's see. Keep my amp under the window. Which window? That one. Yeah, I guess I could do that. I could do that. I could move the shredder. I could move the shredder. You mean this window right here, right? That window? Tony says, I have a beautiful 335. However, it's impossible to keep the guitar in tune. Oh, no. Understand this is a common problem with Gibson guitars. Any suggestions or solutions? So let's talk about that. Yeah. So I have 3 Gibsons. I have found the best thing to do with the tuning on those is to put in a new nut and get a bone nut. Have a luthier put in a bone nut for you. If you don't know how to slot a bone nut, I don't know how to slot a bone nut. I wouldn't do it. I'd screw it up for sure. So get a bone nut, have it done well. I have found that's the biggest thing that helps. My Gibsons all stay in tune now. And they didn't before, especially my Les Paul. When I got it, it was bad news. But once I got it all set, those necks are rock solid. So at least the ones I have are pretty rock solid. So that's helped a lot. That would be my number one piece of advice for that. That's what worked for me on 3 different guitars. On my 335, on my Les Paul, and on my Melody Maker. It worked like a charm, each one. I didn't change the tuners on any of them. Yeah, and setup's also very helpful. If that neck's all twisted, nothing that's going to happen. Open mic is good. Excellent. That's great. It's good that you're going to open mics. Always good. You were talking about the paper shredder. Okay. Telly with humbuckers. That's good. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I'm really looking at Philip Norman and DA. I'm really looking to be able to play out pretty soon as well. Really looking forward to that. All right. Now, let me talk. I have I think you mean 8515 Aziz, right? I have a couple of those. They're nice pickups. Oh, they're low output. Ooh. Sounds like. How new is the PRS, Aziz? How new is your PRS? Is it a new guitar? If that's new, I would take it into a shop and if they diagnose it's normal pickups, I would send it back because that shouldn't be like that. I tell you, I have two PRSs with 8515 pickups, and they're overly hot for me. So they're too high output for me. I like lower output pickups. If I change them, that's why I change them to lower. Oh, it's 5815. Okay, got it. Okay, well I don't know then. Sorry. I don't know. Maybe they're naturally low output. I don't know. Okay. Anyway, so just quickly kind of talking about this one. Let's give it a listen again. And yeah, if you just got it this week, you should take it in and make sure it's okay. And if that's not acceptable, send it back. Send it back. Oh yeah, I mean it's a beautiful guitar, man. Beautiful guitar, McCarty, 549. Okay, so I'm going to listen to this one, and we'll kind of take it through. So let's listen from the beginning. So it's in A. D. Back to A. Now this is an E. D. And A. Okay, so these chords right here, it's all in the key of A, right? So the key of A will work, but you probably want to give it a little bit of an edge because this is feeling like a rock tune, right? So if you played A major, it's going to sound a little bit too happy-go-lucky. Right? That sounds too happy sounding for me. It's also too trebly here. I don't know what's going on. Ooh, louder. Yeah, let me give a little bit darker, maybe a little bit darker sound. So, yeah, so it's going to sound a little bit too much. So you might try over that. There's a couple of different things you could look for. You could try playing a scale like an A blues or A minor pentatonic. You could try a D mixolid. You could try a Mixolydian. And you've got that flatted seventh in there to give it a little tiny bit of an edge, which is good. So you could try that. Or you could just play by the chords, which was kind of like what I was doing, right? Over the A, over the D, play that. So those are the options right there. But it gets a little bit different, and this is why I think, you listen to the whole thing, it gives a song the vibe, and then you kind of choose the sound that you want. So let's listen to the other one. Second time through, we got an A. Now it's different. Now it goes from G to D to A. So it switches to the key of D here, but we're playing in A. So here, this is more Mixolydian. So this is why I was saying the Mixolydian is going to work well because that flatted seventh is a vibe. This has an edge. This song has a bit of an edge to it, so that scale is going to work well if you want. So if you don't know this, a Mixolydian scale, you can look at it a few different ways, but one way is that you just take the A minor and you flat the seventh of it. So instead of playing a G here, instead of playing a G sharp, you play a G, which makes sense because you're playing a G chord, right? That's one way I think about it. So that works. There's also an edgier sort of mode that you can do called the Dorian mode, and that will also work. That will also work. It's even a little more edgy. And if you're not a scale player, if you just play by the chords, you can just play by the chords. And here I'm thinking, G major, right? So, that kind of stuff can be played, and it's kind of just going on the chords that's there. But that G gives it that edge. That G gives it that edge. Same thing. We'll do it one more time. Now it's different. Now that last part goes from E to G, so it gives it a slightly different tonality before it goes back up. That minor move from the E chord to the G, that minor third move, is very typical in rock, and again, it's kind of an edgy sound to it. And so that signals, hey, I can use an edgier sounding scale. So I might even play Dorian over that, or go back to my A blues scale. A blues scale. So there's so much you can play with this one. It's so open. Now here's I think the trick to all this stuff. Just when you're just starting out, just pick one and go with it, and see how it sounds, and just soak in all the sounds that you're getting from it. Just soak them all in. And then pick another method and do that. And eventually what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to do all those methods. You'll be able to do them all and mix and match. And that's when it's really fun. But when you're just starting out, it's overwhelming. Like here's Mark said, hey, I could use A blues, I could use A minor pentatonic, I could use A major pentatonic, I could use A Mixolydian, I could use a Dorian, I could play just by the chords. I'm confused. Just pick one and go with it and see how it goes. And you'll see the notes that are going to work. Let me show you. So let me put a little bit of spice on the guitar. And this time I'll just play minor pentatonic through the whole thing. And you'll see where it's good, where it's not so good. Nothing special, but pretty much staying within the minor pentatonic and just hitting a few chromatic notes, and that's it. You can see I was struggling when it went to a different chord. I wanted to do something else. I was like, ooh, that's not a great note. Maybe I could use a chord tone. Nope, I got to stay within the minor pentatonic. I struggle now. Once you go past that, then it's hard to go back. So that's just using minor pentatonic, and I basically just kept to a couple of positions there. Now I'll try using Mixolydian. I'll try using the same sort of A Mixolydian. So definitely a little happier sounding, right? It's not as dark sounding. You're not always doing a little bit happier sounding, right? So, you know, that's what all these things are for. They're just sort of like for moods that you want to play in and project in your play. Let's try just playing by the chords. Now this can sound a little bit stiff, but you can use some nice little transitions too. I'll just try and do that now. So you can see it's kind of limiting, but there's cool things that you can do to break that up, and you're hitting chord tones. Did you notice how clearly that E came out? This time I hit that E pretty well. So you know, that E to G is pretty obvious there. So sometimes just focusing on the chord tones, and I was just playing chord tones per se. It's nice to play, you know, scale notes in between those chord tones too. But again, you know, the more comfortable that you get to this, and this kind of is full circle, right? Because we're going back to knowing where all the chords are instantly by playing partial chords all over the place. Learning chords really helps you with playing lead a lot. So that's, you know, another thing to kind of take away from this. But just get yourself used to like doing one thing at a time, and eventually you'll be able to mix it in, and it's great. And if you just want to stay pentatonic, you can do that too. You know, if you're like, no, man, I'm cool with the pentatonic. Let me just figure out where I can play the major pentatonic. And, you know, that'll work too. So it's all good. It's all good. And it's supposed to be fun, right? So, you know, people often say there's no wrong notes. There's only wrong notes to land on or something like that. That's largely true. If you can just make sure you land on a chord tone, all is usually good with the world. All right. So it looks like we're talking a lot about, isn't A Mixolydian D major? Yes, Ron, that is one way of looking at A Mixolydian scale, the A Mixolydian scale. It's the D major scale. That's one way of looking at it. Another way of looking at it is the A major scale with a flatted seventh. That's another way of looking at it. And there's yet a third way of looking at it, which I'm not going to get to. You can start with a pentatonic and you can add notes into a pentatonic. And I think for many players, one way is simpler than the other. And so that's the way I recommend. So if you already know that A Mixolydian is D major, that works for you. It's the same notes. It's not the same scale. It has a different sound. You know, if I drone an A and I play... Let me take the distortion off. It's too much. If I drone that note, you know, and play that scale, starting at A, it has a different sound than if I drone a D and start at D. That sounds happier to me. Right? So anyway, it's just a matter of what bass note is around it, and gives it a different flavor. It's kind of interesting. You know, there's a lot to be said with just playing a chord and put a different bass note on it. I mean, check this out. If that sounds foreign to you, what is this chord right here? Most people would say, oh yeah, that's a B minor, and it is in fact a B minor. But what happens if I just changed one thing? I change one note, that bass note, from a B to a G. It has a totally different flavor, doesn't it? Right? Now you got Paul McCartney singing My Love. Here, you got the Hotel California. Right? Different vibe, totally different vibe. All he did was change a bass note. Cool. Cool stuff. That's the modes. To me, that's the modes. The modes are just a different sound. You have a different, you're playing a different major scale over a droning note, and that gives you the vibe that you're trying to get. Every note is close enough for jazz. Fret filing is tough to see. Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's true, David. There's so many things that you can do. And, one of the things that people sometimes ask me about is, is caged right? Or is 3 notes per string better? Or, there's lots of people up there saying, don't use cage system. I don't see a lot of people saying don't use 3 notes per string. You know what I say? I say, whatever. Pick one and learn it if you want. But don't think that that's the end of the guitar. It's not. Because, once you learn it, trust me, you're going to want to know more. I mean, there was a time when I was learning Led Zeppelin licks when a minor pentatonic was everything to me. That was it, and that's what I loved. And then I heard this guy named Larry Carlton, and then I heard this guy named Robin Ford, and I was like, what the heck are they doing? Right? And that's literally what happened. And then I heard this guy named Steve Howe, and I was like, well, he's not playing minor pentatonic. He's playing something else. How does he get that sound? And, that's where it came from. I was astounded when I heard in an interview, Brian May said he doesn't really know scales. I was like, what are you talking about? What else is there? And he told me, he said, I play by the chord. He didn't tell me, he told everybody. He said, I play by chords, I don't play by scales. I thought, oh, that's just wrong. It took me about 5 or 10 years to accept that Brian May might have known something that I didn't know on guitar. What a joke, right? How arrogant of me. But that's kind of how I thought. I thought, there's only scales. How could you not know scales? I mean, what other way is there? Well, there's plenty of different ways. So anyway, pick one and enjoy yourself while you're doing it. I think that's the main thing. If you can enjoy yourself while you're doing it and you're making music and there's other people who are digging it, it doesn't matter what scale you're using, does it? It's all cool. All right. All right. Could you touch on major key and its relative minor? Sure. Sure. Absolutely. So, yeah, since we were talking about changing the bass note, right? Yeah. The relative minor is the minor chord in a key that corresponds to the same. It has the same notes, okay, as its major key, but they're just in a different order. So there's a few other minor chords that are within a key. So I should clarify this. Here's the way that I think of it, the simplest way, and I noticed this when I played a C chord in the very beginning, not of today, but when I was first learning. Play a C chord. That there's a lot of songs. There's a lot of songs out there that go. Yeah. So they go from C to A minor. And I just looked at this chord and I said, well, A minor is very similar to a C major. You're adding a note here, but it looks a lot the same. And I can even stop on this same C, and it looks a lot the same. So it turns out that is the relative minor, that the relative minor is the minor chord that is 3 frets below, a step and a half below the major chord. And so in C, it's A minor, right? Because here's a C major. I go 1, 2, 3 frets down. That's my A minor. A minor is the relative minor of C. If I start in D, let me start in D. Okay, there's my D chord. I take the D. I go 3 frets down. Okay, did I get that right? Well, I played an E. That's a problem. If I'm trying to play in D major and I play an E, that's the problem. I knew there was something wrong. Let me start out in D. We'll do E next. So I start out in D. Jeez, sorry about that. So I start in D, and I go 3 notes down. 1, 2, 3, and that gives me the relative minor, and it's a B. So it's B minor is the relative minor of D. And that makes sense, right? Because if C is A, then D must be B, right? It's the same relationship. Okay. Now, how about E? E is a little bit trickier because if I start at E, I go 3 notes down. I go to C sharp minor. So there you go. So that's one way of looking at it. If you're theory-minded, it's the 6th note in the major scale. So in major scale. So it's the 6th chord, which is a minor. But that's more theory than we need. Just think of it as 3 frets down. I play the minor. That's it. So when I play A minor, I didn't play that well. Let me try it again. When I play an A minor, in fact, it is the same notes as C major. And as Ron Shack earlier mentioned, hey, that's just a mode of C major. So SD, who I think it was the person who asked the question, SP, you already know modes. And in fact, it's called the Aeolian mode, if you wanted to know that. The Aeolian mode is the same as the minor scale. Who knew? I didn't know that until somebody told me. So, there you go. So many older players found their way, which is why they have their own sound. Yes. So, that's another reason why it's really good. That's a great comment, Chris. So, that's another reason why don't try to learn everything. Just learn one thing, get comfortable in it, and try and figure out what you can do to use to make it work. I'll share with you something earlier today. Earlier today, I got a comment on a Pete Townsend video, and it's fine. That person was very well-meaning. Not everybody is, but this person was. And he said, I love the video, Mark, but you're playing Pinball Wizard wrong. And he didn't say that I was playing the wrong notes. He said, you're not wrapping your thumb around like Pete does. Okay, fine. It's a technique that people use, the thumb wrap, and I do sometimes too. I don't use it all the time. And Pete Townsend did use it, intensely, no question. And yes, I get that there's some things about deadening the strings, and maybe you can hit a bit harder, maybe not. Maybe you can play like this and still learn how to hit pretty hard. Here's the point I was trying to make. If you close your eyes and it sounds the same, does it matter whether you wrapped your thumb around or not? The answer should be no. Okay? So the other thing to keep in mind is Pete had his own fingers, has his own fingers, and he had his own sound that he was trying to get to. The guitar is a puzzle for you to figure out yourself to make music come out that's in your head. Ultimately, that's what it is, right? Pete Townsend's not going to be up on stage with you going, nope, thumb. And people in the audience aren't going to say, what? Thumb? You didn't use your thumb. Except a couple of guitar players might say that. Okay? They're being jerks, though. Okay? So if you can use the thumb to get a different sound and that's all you, love it. If you can get a different sound and you're really into, say, John Mayer or Stevie Ray or Hendrix or something like that, all for it. But Hendrix had these giant hands and he could wrap his thumb and deaden out the D string. I can't do that. Okay? So, we all have to use our own limitations and figure things out ourselves. So I think it's really important. When I started learning guitar, and I've shared this story a number of different times. Guitar stranglers. Yeah, there you go. All right. Let's see. Oh no, yeah. Oh, Rondo, I just wanted to make sure you're going to be okay, man. Don't stay safe for sure. I said don't stay safe. Stay safe, please, and take care of yourself. All right. Anyway, back to the other. I've shared this story with a lot of people. I'll share it with you. Back in the day, there was only Guitar Player magazine. Maybe there was Guitar World, but nobody ever read that, or a few people did. I don't know. Occasionally we got it and it was fun. But there was Guitar Player magazine, and it came out, and once Joe Pass, the great Joe Pass, bet a lot of people don't even know him. He's a jazz player, right? He came out, and I was like, I revered this guy. And I read his article. I remember two things about it. the first thing was that he said there's only 3 chords. There's majors, there's minors, there's sevenths. Everything else doesn't count. It's all a flavor of one of those 3. That really struck me as being wrong at the time, but I listened to it and it makes a lot of sense to me now. He also said, don't drive yourself crazy on learning the fretboard. He said, I know major scales, that's what I know. Now, he could play anything. Listen to Joe Pass play. He could play all sorts of crazy jazz stuff. But he said he knows major scales. And he said he just figured he needed to learn them all over the fretboard, and he picked 5 places roughly equally spaced, and that seemed to do it. So I said, I'm going to learn the major scale in 5 different places, and that's what I did. I didn't look in a book or anything like that because Joe Pass told me to. And wouldn't you know it that later somebody told me about this thing called, oh, you're just playing the cage system. And I said, what do you mean cage system? I never heard of that. But the reason why I think it was good was because I got my own fingerings for those. Now, if I look in books for the cage system, they're not the same as the way I finger it. I finger it similarly, but not the same. So, I figured out what was going on in a similar way, but not exactly the same. Does that make my guitar a little bit different? I don't know. But I certainly know it differently than if I read it in a book and just intellectualized it. I had to learn it in my fingers and head. Enough about that. But you're absolutely right, Chris. I would say, again, pick one thing. It doesn't matter if it's pentatonic. Don't let anybody tell you pentatonics are not good. Pentatonics are great. Pentatonics are awesome. All right. Timothy Viard. Been trying to play Wichita Alignment. I don't think it sounds like it's a record. Do you know, or do you have a lesson on the new chord? I stumbled on new chords messing up. I don't know it offhand, but I think there's some major sevenths in there for sure that are there. I used to play it in a coffee house, so I used to play it on acoustic. So I don't know it offhand. I don't think I have a lesson on it. But it's a real nice song. I love that song. I should do a lesson on it. It's good chords. Hey, Alrano, never need to apologize for that, brother. Never do. All right. Yep. Flat necks and skinny necks helps. But, I think most people can do it. It's really a question of, learning. Most people can do it for at least dampening out the 6th string if you want to do it, and the 5th string you can probably use a finger on your left hand to do that, a finger on the left hand instead of the thumb to do it. So that's a possibility. Okay, Guitar Players What's a Cool Magazine, now just an advertisement. I haven't read it in years. But I remember, like I'm sure like you, waiting for that to come out. To me, I lost interest in Guitar Player when every month it was like Mike Varney's stuff, and it's like, oh, another guy who can tap and shred and okay, great, and plays metal. Just not interested. After a while, I just got so tired of that. In the beginning, it was like, oh wow, he's like Eddie Van Halen, but he's maybe even better, and I just lost interest. Can I play C in a G shape? Of course, yes. So the G shape is another one of those that's a difficult one to finger. So if we're playing a G and we go up the fingerboard, we want to there's the root. Here's the secret to caged. Whatever form you play, you got to know where all the roots are. Here's a root. A root is the note that names the chord, just so everybody knows that. Here's a root right here. Here's a root right here, and here's a root right here. So I've got a 6th string root right here. I've got a 1st string root, same as the 6, right? And on the 3rd string, I've got a G there as well. So I can use that to my advantage. So I think the easiest one to do it is to think on the 6th string. I'm going to take this all the way up to there. And I'm going to pretend my first finger is a capo, right? Actually, I'm going to use a capo first. So if I just play a G chord right there, sorry, that's a C. And I can prove it to you by playing an open C right here. Same chord, right? Okay, so now I just have to do it without my capo. Here's the capo. I got to use my first finger right there. So that's what I'll do. Now that is hard to finger. For a lot of people, that is hard to do. For me too. So I often omit the 6th string. I don't play it. I don't play it. I might play just this. And I'll omit the 1st string too, because I don't need that. There we go. And then if I hammer on, now I get my Hendrix chord. Ooh. So notice how as soon as I freed these notes up but kept this one down, I got a lot of finger freedom on that, and it made my life a lot easier instead of having to play all these notes. But anyway, that's how you finger it. I still think of this chord. I still think of it because I might want to play that scale, or I might want to play a fill. You know, I might want to play a fill like that. So I still think about it, but when I play it, I let my fingers, I give my fingers a break. I don't have to try and do this. I just play part. That sounds kind of Hendrixy, right? And I'm not using the thumb. Wait a second. All right. Anyway, there we go. Great question. Great question. Without a capo, the D shape is really tough. So the D shape, either you play, now I'll play let's play a G chord, right? Same principle though. Start with a D and note where are the roots, the notes that name the chord. Fourth string is a D string, right? So that's a root. And also on the 2nd string, on the B string, 3rd fret, that's a D. So I can think about it as moving up on the D string until I hit a G, which is right there. Or I can think of it as moving up on the B string until I hit a G, which is right there. So this is the chord. Hard to finger. And I can't play many things with that. But watch what happens when I make it really easy. If I just play on the first 3 strings, I get this. And now I can do stuff with it too, right? It's fun to do that. And now, how about this one? If I choose this root right here, the G there, now what if I didn't play that top string? I'm just going to play strings D, G, and B. Now, this actually isn't a triad. That's okay. It's okay to not play the triad. I'm just playing this right here. But check out what I can do now with this. That's used all the time in rock. Actually, that's Brad Paisley uses that in some song. Waiting on a Woman or something. Something like that. All right. Angeline. Okay. Robin. Oh, yeah. The half whole diminished. Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah. Oh, that half whole diminished is so cool. So cool. I love that pattern for the diminished there. Little advanced, but whatever. Yeah, the whole key to that one is knowing when to get out of it. Go to a good note. Oh, so cool. We'll go over that sometime. I had a lesson a long time ago on a half whole diminished. I think that's a lot cooler than, and you can jam on it a lot easier than you can. You know, you can play that diminished, but you can't really jam on it. Kind of cool. Kind of cool. And it's symmetrical, so you can just take it up. Take it up 4 frets. Take it up a minor third and play the same thing. All right. Hey, wow, it's 1:19. This has gone on for a long time. It's a beautiful day here. I'm going to enjoy the beautiful day. I will go to camera 2 because camera 2 is nicer, you said. And let me try and play something. We'll take it out. Hey, I just want to say thanks everybody for coming on today. I don't know how many people got on. If you haven't yet liked, please do me a favor and like the video if you can. Helps me out. Doesn't cost you a thing. I want to again say thanks to all the members, and for the members who were able to join the members live site live stream yesterday. There will be a I will be posting that and leaving that up for you so you can view it at a later time. But I'll be posting it at a nice place in the member site, so easy to remember. You won't have to retrieve emails and stuff like that. So that's happening. Guitar giveaway on Tuesday, so that's exciting, and pedal giveaway. So yeah. And for those of you who have donated or anything like that, or just like the videos and subbed, thanks so much. I really do appreciate it. I really do. I couldn't do this without all of you. So thank you so much for sharing your Sunday with me. I hope you enjoyed today's little thing. I'm going to take you out with a little improv. It's going to be different than the first one, for sure. All right. Thanks to Nemo Unknown. I'm Anonymous. El Rondo, always great to see you on. Aziz, thank you so much. Street Bright. Timothy Viard, thanks. Some of the new folks who were on. Mike Murillo, thank you as always. Matt, as always. So many folks who were on. Ozman5151, I know you're not on, but thank you for coming on. We'll talk to you later. I'm going to go out with this one. Just calm you down a little bit, maybe. I don't know. I haven't really played this one, so we'll see how it goes. Let's see what we got. All right, gang. We'll see you around. And enjoy your Sunday. Hope this mellowed you out a bit. And you can get out in the sun and enjoy it. Okay, thank you again for coming by. We'll see you on down the road.